Let me preface this by saying I've always been very honest about what I was. I've never had any shame of what I am, with what my mother was, my grandmother, and a long line of women stretching back to the seeming beginning of time. I'm a witch. I've always practiced, I've always had power. And not once have I ever harmed another living being. Not ever, despite what anyone might say. Several years ago, I saw a shirt a young lady was wearing on a rare trip to town. It said, "I am the descendant of the witches you forgot to burn." That shirt made me laugh. I ended up buying one off the internet at the public library. I don't have the internet at home, you see. I have been a self-imposed hermit for decades now. It's for the best. I made a choice and I have to stick with it. Back in the 70s, when I was still relatively young, something dark came to our town. Even I couldn't ascertain where it had come from. Not even my mother or my grandmother or any member of our small coven could understand its origin. Regardless of where it had come from, it had come here. We first became aware of this dark thing when the first child went missing. A little boy turned up later, dead and drained and emaciated like a dried cicada husk. We were blamed first because, of course, we were. If there was anything from rain to snow to someone with a bad case of acne, everyone in our town pointed a finger at us. Some did it in jest, some in habit, and some in outright and malicious hatred. Edith had been the first ones to sense a thing. I still remember that evening. We had met for tea. No witchy business at all. It had been a delightful afternoon tea, when the poor lady had clutched her pearls and gasped like she'd seen a mouse. "Are you all right, Edith? Tea too hot?" My mother had asked softly. But I knew she suspected that was not the case. That was the way her eyes narrowed as she looked at the middle-aged woman. "No. Dear heaven, something has come to our town. I felt it pass through like a cold wind down my spine. Something wicked." Tears were in her eyes as she spoke. My mother nodded and poured out her tea, reading her tea leaves while the rest of us looked on in anticipation. Her face was grim as she read what the bits of water-logged tea leaves had to say. "My dear ladies, we have work to do," my mother said, standing, wiping her hands on her apron as she stood. And we got to work. Day and night, each of us using our particular talents to not only track the thing, but find a way to contain it. Constance read her ancient tomes and texts. Mary tracked the beast to its lair using her divination skills. My mother and grandmother had their spells and potions, and I helped. My skills were in dreams and their interpretation. I spent many days, fast asleep and medicine-induced stupor to glean what I could about this interloper. All I could learn was that it was an ancient. Perhaps at one point it was worshipped. It had been summoned by those with less skill to do their bidding. Instead, it had killed its would-be jailers and fled into the world, finding victims in blood where it could. "Do you have a name, Gresham? Without a name to bind it, our prison will not be as effective," my mother asked me, her voice filled with concern and anger. Though, thankfully, that anger was not directed at me. "No, mother. No name. And as many names in the dreams had not revealed its true name to me," I said softly. "No matter. The magic and bindings will hold, though ourselves will be bound to it until our deaths," my grandmother explained. Her voice was old and strained as there so many weeks of working magic. She seemed so frail as paper and as thin. "And what about after our deaths, Elizabeth? What then?" Mary asked, her voice sharp and worn thin of patience. "Then it shall be 3, unless we can learn its true name and banish it from whence it came," my grandmother said with a tiny shrug. "A price we must pay to obtain it. It's been killing children, and it will not stop until it has gone through every innocent life in the town," Ada said, teary-eyed. "We lay our trap. It was easy. I was the willing bait for the thing. I was the youngest, and mother and grandmother had filled me with potions and tinctures to make me more appetizing to the thing. We lured it to a small cave located on our property. We needed somewhere private, where praying eyes would not see us, and more importantly, not disturb the thing once it was captured. It came quickly, on its shadowed feet. It took no effort to hide itself, it was darkness itself. No prey escaped it once it had its eyes set upon it. By this time, over a dozen children and young women had been killed. More blame was laid at our feet. We were being thrown into our faces, dead animals were being thrown into our yards. Bricks with threats written on them were tossed through windows. When I felt the thing's presence at my back, it took all the strength I had to not run. Our magic was strong, and unbeknownst to the thing, it was already trapped. I could feel the panic set in when I realized it could not leave the cave. Whispered threats were uttered as it reached for me and found it could not grasp me. It arrived, it screamed and begged, and it promised all manner of worldly goods and powers if it would let us go. We would ignore it. We all took turns sealing the small cave of bricks and mortar. No easy task to do in the forest on unsteady ground, but we managed. When final brick was laid, our powers were tied to its containment, to its life and hopefully eventually death. As long as one of us lived, it would be locked behind its prison of earth and brick. But then we started to die. One by one, as old age claimed us, my grandmother first, followed by my mother. Constance drowned on a trip to Florida. Edith and Mary lived to be in their 90s, but the Grim Reaper comes for everyone in the end. I am the last. I am in my 80s. I've never married or had children, though it was not for lack of trying. The rumors that it had been me and my coven who had killed those innocents all those years ago never went away. They only grew. And no man wanted me. I had been friendless now for many years. I have tried to find out the true name of the thing, but to no avail. I looked in books, I've scoured the internet and found nothing. I've reached out to other supposed witches and been met with scammers and liars. I feel so alone. And now I am dying. Last few years, the harassment has gotten so much worse. I've not been able to safely leave my home, and as when I do, I am followed and stalked. I've been threatened with death, and today it seems like they have made good on their threats. My home is on fire. The flames are creeping along my hallway, and I can see the light from the fire getting brighter. And there is smoke. So much smoke. Outside my window, I hear them screaming the same thing like them have screamed for centuries. Burn the witch. Burn the witch. I have fallen to the floor and I'm coughing. I am afraid for myself and the others. There are many innocent people that live in this town now. I can feel the things staring now. I can feel its anticipation. Once I die, it will be set free, and the bricks have already begun to fall away. As the flames finally reach my door, I feel pity. I have no illusions about the pain and fear this creature will unleash on the people of this town. And they are about to learn a very important lesson. One that will be written in the blood of their children. There's a reason why you shouldn't burn witches.